Security forces in Venezuela have used tear gas to break up a student demonstration in the capital, Caracas.
More clashes in Ukraine's capital, Kiev. Police fired tear gas on demonstrators protesting against the government's decision to suspend trade talks with the EU. More clashes in Bangkok as protesters try to storm the Prime Minister's office. Thailand's national security chief said they were alternating between using water cannon, tear gas and rubber bullets.
Hundreds gathered to protest what they say is a chronic disregard for safety practices at many privately operated mines.
Maybe we should gently remind people how life would look like if there was no European Union. Look at these pictures, for example, when we had to be checked at borders all over Europe. It's when we miss people that we realize how much we care about them. You know, we can be proud of what we have achieved and who we are.
Police and anti-fascist protesters have clashed in Athens near the Golden Dawn party headquarters.
Thousands of demonstrators marched in towns and cities all over Italy in support of the anti-austerity action.
Large crowds marched on Congress in Madrid on Saturday against the government's latest austerity measures. But there was also anger at new laws against spontaneous protests, rallies leading to violence and the filming of police during protests.
Riot police in Paris clashed violently with anti-gay marriage protesters on Sunday. Hundreds of thousands of people from all over France gathered near the Champs-Élysées.
We're going to have to move on to another issue now, but it's another issue where you're also facing pressure, and that's the European elections. Now, you've been touring Europe, engaging in citizens' dialogues, but we're seeing that Europeans are more and more disaffected, more and more alienated. Why have you lost Europeans' trust?
I do not believe that we have lost Europeans' trust, because if I look at our polls, a vast majority of citizens in Europe feel European. The problem is that they do not know what it means.
But then if you're going to, if you're going to quote a poll, a Eurobarometer poll just a few months ago showed that 60% of Europeans didn't trust Europe. Another, which was a Gallup poll, showed that only 4 countries gave Europe an approval rating. 4 EU member states gave Europe, EU leaders an approval rating above 50%. So,
I am not very happy to say this, but the approval rate for the European Commission goes higher than the approval rate for national governments and for national political parties. So let's not start to discuss about this. 2/3 of the Europeans feel Europeans. 1/3 of the Europeans knows what that means. And that is why we started these town hall meetings. We have made 41 so far. And town hall meetings where people can ask questions, people of all levels. And what I see in these town hall meetings that people say, yeah, finally somebody comes to answer this question. Now, do I, as a European Commissioner, need to go downtown to the villages, to the cities in order to answer questions of the citizens? I do believe that the national governments should do a lot more work in order to explain how Europe functions, who takes the decisions and what Europe does for the citizens.
Do you want to see a British government able to prevent a deal like this going ahead? That's the question.
If it's not good for R&D and science base of the country, we would like to see
that.
Which is why,
But the question is, Chuka, which I don't understand. In November 2012, you said, it seems to me, having a broad public interest test risks creating uncertainty and came out against it.
And we're not proposing
So you're really
that.
saying the same thing as I'm saying?
No.
Jobs,
no.
R&D, making sure it's a good deal.
Yes,
Karen,
it wasn't abroad. Can I just say something about the commitments, by the way, David?
What
because
commitments?
The Pfizer CEO gave a number of commitments to
you
the government last week.
That,
well, this is the thing. They are not worth the paper they're written on. Because having given those commitments, he then said on a call with journalists on Friday that he was going to break up the company in 3 different parts, which could be sold off.
Let's just stick to this question. The only thing I want to know is whether the politicians can or can't decide.
The law needs to be changed.
Caroline Lucas, you want to change the law, and you agree with changing the law.
No, I'm saying that we need to put the test in place so we get the best deal for Britain.
Caroline Lucas.
But the law... I agree with
the point is always thinking you have to change the law isn't always the answer. The answer is making sure we get the direct investment in
Caroline
Britain,
Lucas.
and we secure the job.
And then Nigel Farage, then we must stop, I'm afraid, because we're over time.
I think that we should reform the laws so that politicians can intervene in this strategic area. And I think that the whole era of economic globalisation, where we are at the mercy of corporate takeovers, is something that absolutely needs to be challenged. I don't want to see a Britain where we have our manufacturing, what's left of it, completely hollowed out. I don't want to see a Britain where we are just flaunting ourselves as a tax haven. Because I tell you what, if Pfizer comes to Britain because we've got the lowest tax, if that's what's attracting them, then you can bet your bottom dollar that when another country has a lower tax rate, they will be off again.
Okay.
It is utterly unsustainable.
Nigel
but can I say one
Farage.
thing?
No, you can't. No, you can't. I'm sorry, because we've run out of time. We really can't. Nigel Farage, you haven't to say, is this going to be in your manifesto? Is this the
won't
UKIP
be
manifesto?
the shareholders that decide. It won't be the people that decide. It won't be Parliament that decides. It will not be the British government that decides. And the weasel, lies you have heard from these 3 parties on this panel, and you listen to them, and they say, oh, the law needs to be changed.
Yeah, it's all Europe.
Enterprise Act is
This decision...
Let Nigel Farage just finish his sentence,
You are either willfully lying to these people, or you're pig ignorant. Vince Cable, in this debate, when he was pushed by John Redwood, admitted the ultimate decision as to whether AstraZeneca can be taken over by Pfizer will be taken...
He didn't do that.
You see, this is what will be taken by the European Commission. We have given away the ability...
Steady on.
And this is what it's like. We've had years of this from these people.
Nigel Farage.
There is an enormous elephant in the room.
Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, will you listen to me just for a moment?
Yeah.
And that's the end of the debate. If Britain pulls out of the EU, are you saying that a British government would be able to stop takeovers?
Yes,
like this?
absolutely.
Fine, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. So, fine. You've got 1 point to go in your manifesto.